thanks for inviting me along today. You'll have to forgive me, I'm needing to read my notes because I've got Alzheimer's, and if I was to try and do it without notes, we'd probably all be here at 10 o'clock tonight. So just bear with me. I was diagnosed at the age of 55, but I was experiencing symptoms at 49. Since my diagnosis, I've been campaigning for more awareness about the needs of people affected by dementia. Transport being an important part of the challenge. When you mention dementia to people, they quite often talk to you about memory. But memory is only a small part of the disease. There are so many other aspects, and when you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. So is it any wonder that our transport requirements vary so much? When I set out yesterday to come along to this meeting today, I couldn't have foreseen the difficulties I would encounter. Trying to negotiate my way around London with road closures and all the other problems. It was one of the hardest things I've done. Living with dementia brings its own challenges, so trying to reorganise my route proved difficult. I was advised not to use the tube, but finding the correct bus was proving hard as well. I have encountered unpleasantness on public transport. Dementia being a hidden disability, people don't always understand our needs. Some people are reluctant to give up a seat that is marked for a person with a disability. And younger people living with dementia can find it hard because their disability isn't always easily recognised. My balance and spatial awareness causes me to stumble sometimes. So when the bus driver moves off before I've had a chance to find a seat, can cause me to be quite frightened. So yesterday, I listened to my family when they insisted I took a cab as opposed to the tube. I knew whatever form of transport I chose would be crowded, and dementia and crowds don't mix. Having said that, I'm determined to continue to use public transport. I value my independence, and with the help of my support worker, will endeavour to go places for as long as I can. I have noticed, however, at many of the London mainline stations, there are no notices displaying priority seats. This makes it impossible to ask anyone to give up their seat. I usually go into the disability waiting area, but quite often it is overcrowded. I must admit, I struggle with the new arrangements for paying on the underground. I was so used to going to the ticket office to purchase my ticket, but I'm determined to get used to the new system, even though on a bad day I don't fully understand what I'm supposed to do. Thankfully, there are staff available, and my support worker comes into her own. Getting a cab isn't always an option. Being on benefits limits my spending on such luxuries. And on some occasions, communication with the cab driver has been somewhat difficult. Explaining I have dementia doesn't always help, as many of the drivers aren't aware of the condition. So when I drop my coins all over the road, they are somewhat taken aback. You may have heard about the person in Manchester who wasn't allowed to take his assistant's dog into his taxi. I myself have an assistant's dog, so I was encouraged that the taxi firm were taken to court. The outcome being the firm were told they should never have refused the gentleman access and were duly punished. I'm encouraged too about the plans for installing more lifts at the underground stations. Just one request. If you could install them without any mirrors, that would help people living with dementia so much. Many of my friends have benefited from the dementia-friendly service offered at some airports. Only a few years ago, travelling abroad was out of the question for a good number of people living with dementia. On one occasion, a friend was waiting to collect her suitcases, and in the time it took to retrieve them from the carousel, her husband had disappeared. Can you imagine the panic? Things have improved. They've improved a great deal. But whatever means of transport we choose, there is always room for improvement. Our local taxi firm has given all their drivers dementia awareness information, so I can travel in confidence, knowing that the driver has been made aware of my needs and so knows I may not remember the exact address I'm going to. He usually doesn't drive away from my home until I'm safely inside the front door. I can't emphasise how important these changes have been for people affected by dementia. It enables us to keep our independence and continue to feel part of the community. It's vital that whatever can be done is done to enable us to use public transport and enjoy visiting the places we want to. I rely on my support worker to help me get from A to B, but she needs to feel confident that things are in place to make both our lives easier. So whenever changes are being thought about with regard to transport, it's always helpful to consult with the people the changes are going to directly affect. Those affected by dementia know what works for them and what doesn't. When new buildings are being built or older buildings being refurbished, it will be so helpful to consult people with dementia as to the design and layout. Many people don't realise how traumatic it can be to be presented with a black mat at the entrance to a building. To people living with dementia, it could represent a black hole. A similar issue arises with lines along the pavement or footways. A person with dementia can stop dead and feel the line is something they cannot negotiate. This makes the carer's job even harder, trying to reassure the person that it's safe to go forward. So my dream for the future would be a world that is dementia-friendly in every sense of the word, and that transport staff would have a greater awareness of dementia and have had some training on how to enable us to continue to live well. My view is, with the right support, we can live well. With no support, life can be hell. So often I'm confronted by a person that has no training about dementia and will say, "You just go along there, turn right, then second left and right again." By the time they've finished, I can't remember the first instruction. Having had a very bad experience on a train from London to Manchester, where I couldn't attract anyone's attention to get help, and my husband was unable to get a message to the train that I needed assistance, my support worker now accompanies me, which I know is a necessity, but takes away my independence and makes me a wee bit cross and upset that I can no longer travel alone. But hey, I'm lucky. I can still get out and about, be it with assistance. Many people affected by dementia are confined to their homes and are relying on the goodwill of family and friends. So although there's a long way to go with regards to dementia-friendly transport, I, as a person living with Alzheimer's, look forward to the improvements I see on the horizon, and that future generations will benefit from measures we put in place now. Thank you.